No one in Virgin River expected peace to last forever. Just when it seemed like everyone's lives were finally coming together, Jack and Mel settling into their dream home, Charmaine's twins smiling again, and Lizzie preparing for her new baby, something begins to shift beneath the quiet calm of this mountain town. The air feels heavier, the nights grow quieter, and the happiness that once filled every corner suddenly feels fragile. Because in Virgin River, happiness never comes without a cost. The sun rises over the misty hills of Virgin River, casting a golden glow over the farm where Jack and Mel now live. For the first time in what feels like years, the two of them wake up with no fear, no tears, and no uncertainty, just the quiet rhythm of a new life they're building together. The sound of birds replaces the chaos that once filled their mornings. Jack brews coffee while Mel steps out onto the porch, the cool wind brushing her face. She's smiling again, not because everything is perfect, but because for once, it feels possible. But even in this piece, Mel can't help but think about Charmaine. It's been days since they last spoke, and Jack's visit to her house still haunts him. He never said what he saw inside that room, only that the twins were fine. There was something in his eyes that Mel couldn't quite read, a mix of confusion and guilt. When she asks again over breakfast, Jack avoids the question, saying only, she'll reach out when she's ready. Mel nods, but deep down, she knows something isn't right. Their conversation shifts to something brighter, Marley's baby. The couple still hasn't decided whether to go through with the adoption, and it weighs on them. The farm is perfect for raising a child, but both fear the ghosts of their pasts might find their way back. Mel wants to believe that this baby could be their new beginning, yet she's scared to admit how much she wants it. Jack, on the other hand, hides his fear behind his strength. He tells her, if this baby needs a home, we'll give it one. His words sound steady, but his eyes betray the storm brewing beneath. Later that day, the two drive into town. The streets are lively. Hope is organizing another fundraiser to save Doc's clinic. Lizzie is running errands with Denny, and Bree walks out of the cafe holding Mike's hand. Everything looks normal, even joyful. But in Virgin River, joy is often the calm before the storm. At the cafe, Mel and Jack bump into Bree and Mike. The tension is subtle but real. Bree tries to act natural, but Jack can sense she's uneasy. When Mike steps away to take a call, Bree leans toward Mel and whispers, do you ever feel like happiness comes too easily here? Mel looks at her, puzzled, and replies, sometimes, but that's what makes me afraid of losing it. Bree's eyes drop to her coffee cup, and in that silence, Mel feels something shift, like a shadow just crossed through their bright morning. Across town, Lizzie sits in Doc's office for her checkup. She's glowing, excited but terrified. Denny holds her hand tightly, but his illness lingers in both their minds. Doc reassures them that everything looks fine, yet his words sound forced. When Lizzie steps out, Doc glances at her file again, his face tightening. Something about the results doesn't look right. He sighs deeply, then hides the paper in a drawer. Hope enters, catching the worry in his expression, but Doc just says, let's not ruin her happiness, not yet. That evening, Jack and Mel return home to find an envelope on their porch. It's unmarked, no name, no address. Jack opens it, revealing a single photograph, the twins sitting on a couch, smiling, and a short note written in messy handwriting. Don't look for me. Take care of them until I'm ready. Mel freezes, her hand trembling. It's from Charmaine, she whispers. Jack's jaw tightens. The photo looks recent. The twins are clean, safe, but the background isn't Charmaine's house. It's somewhere unfamiliar, darker. What does she mean? Don't look for me? Mel asks, but Jack has no answer. Night falls over Virgin River, and that peaceful calm from the morning begins to fade. Jack locks the doors, glancing out the window one last time. The stars above look beautiful, but even they seem dimmer tonight. Mel clutches the photo, staring at the twins' faces. For a moment, she feels a deep ache in her heart, an ache that whispers, this happiness won't last, because in Virgin River, every smile hides a secret, and every beginning comes with a storm waiting to break. The next morning in Virgin River feels strangely heavy. The air is colder, the sky softer, as if the town itself senses something isn't right. Mel wakes up early, unable to shake the image of Charmaine's note. Jack insists on going to the sheriff's office, but Mel stops him. She said not to look for her, she whispers. What if she's in danger? And this is her way of keeping us safe. Jack looks at her, torn between worry and instinct. He's a man who fixes things, but this is different. This is fear mixed with guilt. Down in town, life moves on. Hope and Doc are already at the clinic, working through paperwork to appeal Doc's medical license. Hope brings him tea, smiling gently, trying to remind him that they've faced worse. You built this clinic from nothing, Vernon, she says. If anyone can bring it back, it's you. Doc nods, but his mind is elsewhere. That hidden paper in his drawer, Lizzie's test results, keep flashing through his thoughts. He tries to convince himself it's nothing serious, but deep down, he knows the truth. Something about her pregnancy isn't normal. Meanwhile, Bree meets Brady by the riverbank. She's supposed to be happy. After all, she's engaged to Mike, but her heart feels heavier than ever. Brady stands quietly, hands in his pockets, watching the current flow. I thought you'd moved on, she says softly. Brady gives a faint smile. I thought I did too. There's no anger between them, only regret. The kind that lingers like smoke after a fire. Bree tells him about Mike's proposal, about how she said yes out of panic, not love. Brady doesn't respond, but his silence says enough. For a moment, they just stand there, the sound of the river covering everything they can't say aloud. At the same time, Mike is in the cafe, meeting a woman we haven't seen before, Victoria, the former police officer who's returned to town. Their reunion is unexpected, but there's history in their eyes. You're a hard man to find, she says with a smirk. Mike chuckles, trying to hide the awkwardness. I didn't think anyone was looking. Victoria slides into the seat across from him. You'd be surprised who still remembers you. Their conversation is light, but there's a subtle undercurrent, something unresolved between them. For the first time in weeks, Mike looks genuinely at ease, which makes his engagement to Bree even more complicated. Back at the farm, Mel tends to the garden while Jack repairs the old barn. They're trying to stay busy, trying not to think about Charmaine's message. But every little sound, a snapping branch, a distant engine, makes them both turn their heads. When Jack finally goes inside, Mel stays behind, her hands in the soil. That's when she notices something unusual, tire tracks leading toward the forest path. They weren't there yesterday. Her heartbeat quickens. She calls Jack over, and together they follow the trail until it disappears near the edge of the woods. Could be anyone, Jack mutters, but Mel can tell he doesn't believe his own words. That evening, the couple receives an unexpected visitor, Bree. Her eyes are red, her voice shaky. Can I stay here tonight? She asks. Mel nods immediately, sensing something's wrong. Over dinner, Bree admits that she broke off the engagement. Mike deserves someone who loves him the way he loves me, she says softly. Jack tries to comfort her, but Bree quickly changes the subject, glancing toward the folded note on the table. Is that from Charmaine? She asks. Mel nods. Yeah, no clue where she is. Bree hesitates, then adds, I think I saw her car near the highway last night, parked by the woods. Jack's fork freezes midair. You're sure? Bree nods. Positive. The silence that follows is deafening. Jack finally stands up, pacing across the room. I'm going to find her, he says. Mel grabs his arm. Jack, no. You don't even know if she's there. His jaw tightens. If she's in trouble, I can't just sit here. The fire in his voice reminds Mel why she fell in love with him, but also why she's terrified. Trouble always finds him when he goes looking for it. As night falls, the wind howls through the trees outside. Jack prepares the truck while Mel packs a flashlight and first aid kit, refusing to let him go alone. They drive down the winding road toward the highway, headlights slicing through the darkness. The deeper they go, the quieter everything becomes. No cars, no sounds, only the crunch of gravel beneath their tires. Then, in the distance, they spot it, a silver SUV parked on the side of the road. half hidden behind tall grass. Jack kills the engine. Mel's hand grips his. "That's her car," she whispers. They step out, their breaths visible in the cold night air. The door is unlocked. Inside, the keys hang from the ignition, and Charmaine's purse lies on the passenger seat. Phone, wallet, everything untouched. But there's no sign of her. Jack shines the flashlight toward the trees. Footprints. Small ones, leading deeper into the woods. Mel's voice trembles. She didn't go willingly. They follow the prints for a few meters until the path splits in two, one trail leading uphill, another vanishing into darkness. Jack kneels, trying to see which way the tracks continue, when something catches his eye, a scrap of fabric caught on a branch. Mel picks it up. It's a piece of Charmaine's scarf, torn and damp. Suddenly, a sound echoes in the distance, faint, metallic, like a door slamming shut. Jack looks up sharply. Someone's out here. The woods grow still again, but Mel swears she can feel eyes watching them. Jack raises the flashlight, scanning the trees. Nothing. "Let's go back," she says. "We'll call the sheriff in the morning." Jack nods reluctantly, and they turn to leave. But before they reach the car, the headlights flicker and then go dark. The engine that had been idling moments ago is now completely silent. Mel's breath catches. Jack moves forward slowly, scanning the area. The keys, still in the ignition, have vanished. And from somewhere in the distance, a voice calls softly, almost whispering their names. The night swallowed their fear, leaving only the sound of the wind moving through the trees. Mel stood frozen, her pulse hammering in her ears. "Jack, did you hear that?" she whispered. Jack didn't answer. His eyes searched the shadows as he whispered back, "Get behind me." For a long moment, nothing moved. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then came another sound, faint footsteps crunching on the gravel behind them. Jack spun around, flashlight cutting through the dark. Nothing. Just the soft shimmer of mist curling around the trees. Mel gripped his arm tighter. "We need to go back to town. Now." Jack nodded, but when they reached the truck, the keys were still gone. The driver's door hung open like someone had just been there. Jack grabbed a small wrench from the toolbox in the back, holding it tight like a weapon. Mel's voice shook. "What if it's Charmaine?" Jack hesitated. "Then why hide from us?" He tried the ignition again, dead. Then, suddenly, a dim light flickered from deeper in the woods. Not a flashlight, more like a lantern swaying gently. Mel's voice was barely a whisper. "She's out there." Jack wanted to call the sheriff, but they had no signal. The only option was to check the light, or stay stranded in the middle of nowhere. He took Mel's hand. "We go together, stay close." They stepped into the darkness, their breaths shallow, following the faint glow ahead. The air smelled of wet earth and pine. Each step brought them deeper into the unknown until the light suddenly stopped moving. A small cabin stood ahead, half collapsed and covered in ivy. It looked abandoned, but the door was slightly open, the lantern hanging just inside. Mel felt her throat tighten. "Jack." He nodded, pushing the door slowly. It creaked, echoing into the stillness. Inside, the place was empty, except for one thing. On a dusty wooden table lay a single baby blanket, folded neatly, and beside it a photograph. Mel picked it up. It was Charmaine, smiling faintly, holding the twins. But scrawled across the back in rushed handwriting were 3 words. "They found me." Mel's hand trembled. "Who found her?" she whispered. Jack didn't answer. He was staring at the wall behind the table. Deep scratches marked the wood, as if someone had been dragged or struggled there. Suddenly, a sound echoed outside, a twig snapping. Jack motioned for silence. The flashlight beams swept the doorway, but no one was there. Just the forest, endlessly dark. Then, a shadow darted past the window. Mel gasped, dropping the photo. Jack moved quickly, stepping outside. "Show yourself," he shouted. Only silence replied. When he turned back, Mel was standing in the doorway, pale as snow. "Jack," she whispered, pointing behind him. "The light, it's gone." The lantern that had guided them was no longer there. Only darkness remained. They hurried back toward the road, hearts racing. When they finally reached the truck, the keys were back, dangling from the ignition like they'd never been missing. Mel didn't even ask how. She just climbed in, trembling, while Jack started the engine. As they drove away, neither spoke. But as the forest disappeared behind them, Mel looked out the window one last time and saw something that made her blood run cold. Far between the trees, the lantern was burning again. But this time, it wasn't swaying. It was perfectly still, as if someone was standing there, watching them leave. The next morning, Virgin River looked the same as ever, sunlight spilling across rooftops, neighbors smiling, birds singing. But for Jack and Mel, the peace felt like a lie. They didn't tell anyone what happened. Not yet. How could they explain something that didn't make sense? At the cafe, Bree tried to smile through her exhaustion, pretending nothing had changed. Mike entered, seeing her from across the room, but before he could speak, Victoria walked in behind him. The air froze. Bree gave a small, polite nod before walking out. Virgin River might look peaceful, but everyone carried secrets, some too heavy to keep hidden for long. Later that day, Doc sat alone in his office, the clinic quiet. He finally pulled Lizzie's test results back out of the drawer. His eyes scanned the numbers, and his hands began to shake. He whispered, "Oh God," just as Hope entered. "Vernon, what's wrong?" Doc looked up slowly, eyes full of dread. "Hope, it's not just her. It's the baby." Across town, Mel stood on the porch of her home, holding the photo from the cabin. The words on the back, "They found me," echoed in her mind. She could still see that lantern burning in the dark, unmoving, patient. She turned to Jack, who was watching the twins' picture on the table. "We're bringing them here," she said quietly. Jack looked at her. "Mel, she asked us to take care of them," Mel interrupted. "And until she's found, that's what we'll do." He nodded slowly, understanding what it meant. A new beginning, born out of fear, love, and mystery. Mel smiled faintly, though her eyes glistened with worry. "Maybe we can finally be a family," she whispered. But as the camera of life pulled back over the quiet valley of Virgin River, the truth remained hidden beneath its beauty. The river flowed, calm and silver under the morning sun. But in its reflection, for just a second, there was a figure watching from the treeline, the faint glow of a lantern flickering beside them. Because in Virgin River, even the happiest families are built on secrets waiting to be uncovered.